A director proposes a timeline that makes no operational sense. Two people in the room know it. Both say so. The first one says it directly. No padding, no apology, just a clean objection with evidence behind it. The second one says almost the same thing. Slightly different phrasing, same clarity, same confidence, same lack of smile. After the meeting, someone pulls the first person aside and says, "Good push, that needed to be said." After the meeting, someone messages the second person's manager. "She was a little aggressive in there." By Thursday, that word has migrated into a feedback conversation. By the next quarter, it lives in a performance review under a line about stakeholder management. One person paid nothing, the other one is still paying. That is the tax, not a metaphor about society, a real recurring cost inside real offices, exposed every time two people do the same thing and only one of them gets invoiced for it. The extra energy, the extra reputation damage, the extra political maintenance required to perform the exact same act of professional opinion that someone else performs for free. And the office will never, under any circumstances, admit the pricing is different, because the entire performance review infrastructure depends on the assumption that it is not. Every company says it rewards people who speak up. Every leadership team claims to want challenge, honesty, pushback, independent thinking. That language is real. It is in the values deck. It is in the hiring in the values deck. It is in the hiring rubric. It is in the CEO's town hall answer about psychological safety, and it is a conditional offer. The actual policy, the one that operates underneath the slides, is this: we reward people who challenge us in ways we find comfortable. The moment the challenge creates friction for someone with power over your advancement, it stops being leadership and starts being a problem. Watch what happens in a room when a man with a reasonable reputation interrupts a flawed proposal and says, "This is not going to work. Here is why." The room absorbs it. People might push back on the argument, but they do not push back on the act. Now watch what happens when a woman with the same title and the same reputation does the same thing. Same words, same directness. The room tightens. Sometimes it is a half-second pause that was not there before. Sometimes it is two people glancing at each other after she finishes. Sometimes it is nothing in the meeting at all and everything in the hallway conversation 20 minutes later, when someone says she came on a little strong. And nobody in that hallway examines why the same strength felt different coming from her. That unexamined moment is where the tax is collected. The trap is not one bad expectation. It is a stack of contradictions that have to be satisfied simultaneously, and satisfying one violates another. Be direct, but never make anyone feel corrected. Be confident, but make sure it reads as collaborative rather than commanding. Show authority, but route it through enough warmth that it does not register as power. Lead the room, but let the room believe it led itself. These are not written rules. They are social prices, and they fluctuate based on who is watching, who feels threatened, and how much discomfort the hierarchy has already decided it is willing to absorb from you. Some people walk into a meeting with a wide margin. Others walk in already near the line, and one moment of unpadded honesty puts them over it. When someone goes over it, the punishment never sounds like punishment. It sounds like development. She needs to work on her executive presence. There are some concerns about how she manages up. She is talented, but not always easy to partner with. She might benefit from thinking about her stakeholder relationships. Every one of those phrases can be legitimate coaching in the right context. Every one of them is also available as a clean, HR-safe container for something much simpler. She challenged someone who did not like being challenged by her. And the language is so professionally sealed that disputing it sounds like you cannot take feedback, which becomes its own proof that the feedback was correct. The system is airtight. You cannot fight the label without reinforcing it. Once a reputation sets, it does not just follow you, it rewrites you. You send a concise email and it reads as curt. You skip small talk before a meeting and it reads as cold. You disagree with the proposal and the room processes it through the existing file before it processes the content. Some people carry rough edges for an entire career, and the organization treats those edges as part of what makes them effective. Others get one bad read in one room and spend 2 years managing the aftermath. Forgiveness is not distributed equally. It is distributed based on how much the organization had already decided you were worth protecting before the friction occurred. There is a cost underneath all of this that never appears in any review because the people paying it have gotten so good at absorbing it that the office does not know it exists. Rewriting an email 3 times, not to improve clarity, but to soften it enough that clarity will not be mistaken for aggression. Adding a smiley face to a Slack message that does not need one because the absence of warmth from you will be read as hostility. Prefacing a disagreement with, "I completely see where you are coming from, and I think there is real value here," just so the actual point that follows is not received as an attack. Smiling while making an argument that does not require a smile because your face at rest in this room registers as a problem. Following up privately with someone you contradicted in a meeting, not because you were wrong, but because you know that if you do not repair the interaction, it will be reported upward as conflict rather than debate. This is not soft skill. This is a second job. It runs parallel to the actual work. It is never compensated, never acknowledged, and it eats hours of cognitive bandwidth every week that could have gone toward the work the organization is supposedly paying for. The downstream effect is where the full design becomes visible. If you pay more every time you speak less. You start editing yourself before the room does. You hold back the sharp observation because the cost of delivering it exceeds the reward. You stop volunteering the dissent. You sit in meetings where you see the flaw and you let someone else name it, because when they name it, the room will call it insight, and when you name it, the room will call it tone. Over months, this becomes a pattern. Over years, it becomes a posture. And then the same organization that made silence the rational choice turns around and evaluates you against the leadership standard that demands exactly the visibility, the risk-taking, the assertiveness it spent years taxing out of you. She is competent but does not step up enough. She does not have the presence for the next level. The office built the cage, watched you adjust to living inside it, and then judged you for not taking up more space. None of this operates in isolation. Seniority reshapes the cost curve. Race multiplies it. A woman with a powerful sponsor and an established track record will pay less than someone building credibility in a new team. Manager personality matters enormously because the tax is usually collected at the individual level by someone who would never describe what they are doing as penalizing directness. And men pay their own social taxes in other dimensions: visible softness, emotional honesty, reluctance to perform dominance. These carry real career cost in environments that expect men to signal certainty whether they feel it or not. The system charges everyone, but what it charges for having an opinion, for being direct, for publicly challenging an idea without performing enough deference to make the challenge feel safe, is priced along gendered lines consistently enough that calling it a pattern understates it. It is a pricing structure. This is also not a claim that every woman who receives tough feedback is being unfairly taxed. Some people communicate poorly. Some are politically reckless. That is real. But the argument is narrower and harder to dismiss. Even when you control for tone, skill, care, and intent, the invoice still comes back different. That is not a communication gap. That is an unequal standard wearing the uniform of objective evaluation. Offices love the language of meritocracy. The best idea wins, the strongest leader rises, the most honest voice gets heard. And underneath that language is a machinery that decides whose honesty is received as courage and whose is received as a problem to be smoothed over in the next one-on-one. Whose confidence gets read as potential and whose gets flagged as a risk to manage. The tax is never listed. The people who benefit from not paying it will never see it, and the people who pay it every day are expected to deliver at the same level, with the same energy and the same ambition as if the cost does not exist. That is how the office keeps the system running, not by defending the disparity, by making it invisible to everyone except the people being charged.